Hello, everybody. Andrew Mercado-Vazquez here from the podcast Puerto Rico Forward and from the PRF review, the show based on that podcast. It's 11:18 right now, and for the last two hours and 15 minutes, police and protesters in Old San Juan have been clashing, and I want to talk about why. First off, the two accelerants that have really driven this situation to this point is, first off, the indictment that was filed last week that I covered in another quick reaction video or QRV. In that QRV, I actually talked about it, so look it up if you want, but really quickly, two government officials are involved. One of the government officials, by the way, is actually from the States, so that person isn't even from Puerto Rico. And then you have four other individuals that just have a contractual professional relationship with the government of Puerto Rico. They were basically indicted. There was 32 counts in the indictment. It's about wire fraud, conspiracy, money laundering. You have a conspiracy of theft, really heavy charges being levied against these individuals. And you also have a leak of about 880 pages worth of a Telegram chat between the governor of Puerto Rico, Governor Ricardo Rosselló Nevares, and his cabinet members and his closest political allies and even advisors, even people that aren't government officials, were participating in this chat. Four very important pieces of information from this chat. First, there's language in there that lends itself to be understood as plans or desires to intimidate certain individuals that think differently than the administration. You also have a conversation between the governor of Puerto Rico and another government official actually laughing and making light of the idea of shooting dead Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz, mayor of San Juan. You also have high levels of profanity used against or in reference to a huge number of individuals, including profanity against the oversight board, federal oversight board, and most importantly, in my opinion, you have the individuals in this chat sharing confidential government information with people that aren't even government officials. So these are serious. These are serious situations arising from the chat. However, I don't believe that the chat and the indictment are the reason why people are protesting today. The reason people are protesting today is because the governor of Puerto Rico has chosen to outright ignore the general demand of the people of Puerto Rico for him to resign, for him to leave office, for him to accept the current situation as it is and simply make way for someone else. The governor of Puerto Rico has refused to do that. He says that he's going to stay in office no matter what. So the people in Old San Juan, what they're doing is that they're protesting because they want him to be impeached or they want him to resign. This is not a protest that happens as a result of these two stories, as I mentioned before. These two stories are accelerants. The people of Puerto Rico have been angry and have been frustrated and have been screaming at the top of their lungs for decades that they want a government that represents them, not a government that is in place to administer the U.S. colony known as Puerto Rico. So I believe that outcry has reached a very important point that has been fueled and has been accelerated, as I mentioned, by these two situations. One, the indictment, which is actual situations, actual actions by government officials and other people interacting with the government in a corrupt manner. And then you have the chat that reveals the personality of these individuals that are in charge of the executive branch of Puerto Rico. So the reaction of protest, I believe, is a reaction that you could see coming from a mile away. But to be honest, I haven't seen this amount of people coming together for a common cause since the fight against the Navy to get out of Vieques. At that point, thousands of people came together from different political ideologies to get the U.S. Navy out of the island municipality of Vieques. So this is a story that's developing. I'm not a journalist, but I do want to call everyone into being aware of the narrative that's going to be shaped in the mainland US, and being aware that it's not as simple as simply the chat and the indictment. This is the accumulation of years of struggle, years of tension, and years of a desire to have finally a government that represents the will of the people of Puerto Rico, and to have an executive branch led by a person that denies the request and the outcry and the demand of the people of Puerto Rico to step aside and allow for a different person to lead, I think has been one of the most crucial points in having this type of confrontation and this type of uproar happen. So, as always, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Y que viva Puerto Rico.